watching it I watched it once through with taking some notes, and then I watched it again just to kind of skip through some of the scenes. But I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's on, and we're recording on 9/11 for the people who will not be listening to it presently. When you hear this, just keep that in mind in the back of your head.
Happy uh Bush's birthday. That's his birthday today.
I wouldn't even know.
I don't know what his birthday is, but it would be funny if it was his birthday. I actually had a
It,
friend in
it's not his
His
birthday.
his little
I'm
gift,
starting the
yeah.
9/11 jokes off with softballs.
yeah, a friend of mine actually is born on her birthday is on 9/11, which I feel like at first it was like kind of a bummer, and now like you just kind of get past that.
Yeah.
But let me we can introduce you, and then we can get started. I'm gonna try. I just want to see if this little sound effect works for everyone again. No, just me. That's what's the point
Was
of
it
having?
crash? Is it a crash sound?
No, it's like the him saying "Hasta
Oh,
la
it's two
vista."
crash sounds. It's
Oh
two.
no, that would have
They're
been
just like little clips from like Arnold's one-liners, but that doesn't make any sense. Why you can't hear them? I guess maybe it's
Aw.
part of the recording. I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah.
forget that. Anyway, forget that for now. But all right. Well, we are here on Left of the Projector this week to talk about James Cameron's 1991 film Terminator 2 Judgment Day, or just T2 to the Terminator fan base. And joining me, I have Grant Capone, or Mark Speard on the internet, and Leftist Libby, or just Libby. Thank you both for joining me today.
hello. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad to be
Yes.
here.
So this movie I feel like is I was just saying before I guess we already were recording, but I feel like this is like a quintessential action movie from like Arnold's, maybe it's his most famous movie ever. And I don't know, I remember that my first memory of this movie is I had the subscription to Sports Illustrated for kids, and the cover of it when this movie came out was like Arnold with the bionic hand, and it was like
Yeah.
considered like a big deal at the time, like technology.
I remember two things I remember about like the stuff with this movie was the Burger King cups that like had like a sleeve around it that you turned it and it made it like do like a little action thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's like those black bars that go up and down and it was like so it was very 1992 technology and how to make like a holograph kind of thing.
I don't
And
remember
then there
that
was
one.
the video game where you just were riding a motorcycle until forever. Like there was nothing, I don't remember anything else besides you just riding the fucking motorcycle in a straight line and then you never did like it was like impossible to actually like get anywhere or do anything. And I don't even know what like gaming system it was on, but I definitely remember playing you were on the motorcycle driving and the Burger King Cup.
The RoboCop versus Terminator game, I think it was on Sega, was pretty great.
Is that what it
Oh,
was?
I don't know if that was it, but that was a good game. I used to love running that one from Blockbuster.
I think there was a Super Nintendo game that was just called Terminator 2, but I
Maybe
don't
it
think
was.
I ever played it.
Yeah,
I
maybe
didn't
it
have
was.
a Super Nintendo, so
I had a Super Nintendo, so it must have been that.
there you go. I had a Sega Genesis, so I was in a different world from you. But I don't know. I don't know. Like that's your memory. I don't know, Grant. What do you like remember about this movie, or even could
uh,
just be like your impressions of it?
I remember when it came out, like I would see the posters and everything, and my parents were talking about it, and it scared me. I was like, I don't want to go see that. And I remember actually being taken to see it. I guess it came back at the theaters when I was like 9 or 10. And looking back, I'm like, oh my god, why did my parents take me to this? It was
I almost like sat my kids down to watch it with me. This like I was like, maybe.
oh
Yeah, it's not like. Yeah, I mean, appropriate maybe for kids that age. I think I was 9 when it came out, and I had like a family friend who, my parents weren't like theater people, movie theater people. So I had like a friend whose parents would just take me to the movies, like vastly inappropriate movies, like Cliffhanger and, you know, Demolition Man, like in the theater. I remember seeing this in the theater and just being like, they're just cursing a lot and just being kind of like, this is not a movie that's appropriate for me right now.
I don't think
That's
I saw it in the theater. I think it was like we rented the videotape like at the store, and like you used, I don't know what the system was, but it was a mom and pop's place, and they had like these little coin things with a number on it that was velcroed underneath the display, um like video, like VHS cover, and you brought the little token with the velcro on it to the guy at the desk, and
That's like an
frankfurters were a nickel.
These are our archaic systems that people have no idea what we're talking about. They're like, oh man, what are these people talking about right now?
Yeah.
But I was kind of like looking into the movie a little bit, just as of like curiosity, kind of what James Cameron kind of had to say about it, and then we'll like maybe talk about what you kind of see as some of like the themes related into this movie. But he apparently was 9 or 10 during the Cuban Missile Crisis, so his like idea of writing this movie obviously didn't come then, but like that was his kind of inspiration of just being scared of a potential
I
threat.
wonder if like his vision of like, how when Sarah was having that dream, and like the fence, like she's like holding on to the fence, and then like a Pompeii style light comes on. I wonder I wonder if that is sort of what, sorry, I'm fucking with my mic. I wonder if that's where like his vision of like the Cuban Missile Crisis, like him imagining what would have happened, and like relating that to Sarah Connor on the fence, like, yeah, the fuck, we gotta get out of here, gotta run. I wonder if that is where that scene came from.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean that's like a fear you would have, like your kids being. I mean he was a kid, but like thinking about like your kids being annihilated and like you know dropping the bomb. And then
Yeah,
the other
like the
thing too,
skin melts off and they turn to a skeleton, and then it's like ash skeleton, and then
and the other thing that I was thinking of too is this movie came out in '91, which is like coincidentally the same year the end of like the Soviet Union Cold War, you could say. And even though it came out in '91, it's supposed to take place in '95. And I'll like bring up something and we might eventually get to like there's like a little comment about Russia, but it also, and obviously the Cuban Missile Crisis is the Cold War, but I feel like that's the undertone to me. In addition, I guess it seems like James Cameron is the threat of just mutually assured destruction and like technology being used improperly, you know, like in the hands of some like morons who don't know what they're doing.
yeah. I I looked at this movie through like the perspective of like climate change, class struggle, and slavery, politics, and I there's so many inconsistencies, but I guess it kind of all got tied together with I believe James Cameron was saying about human behavior and how we dehumanize each other. And
Yeah.
my bottom line with it, what I get from the movie is like it comes across as like the ultimate liberal versus fascist kind of theme going on. Like how would a liberal confront fascists? Uh, is how
it
I
kind of
interpret
reminds
it.
me of like Resident Evil, where like a this company has done all these things with scientists that are no fault to anybody else in humanity, but everybody else pays the price for it, kind of thing.
You know,
Yeah, but I think you're right though, Grant. Like I also, being that James Cameron is kind of just your average liberal director type of person. That's his perspective here. It feels like it's very much. At somewhere in my notes, I wrote something like how something to that respect. Like this is just kind of like the liberal take of how you would like the how you would end up getting to where you are. It's yeah. I don't know.
yeah, there is there's so many times in the movie that I could think of where they just sort of expect the bad guy to just kind of self-sacrifice, you know. I'm like, when does this happen? Like Dyson and who who else was it? The Terminator at the end. It, they just both like, well, you know, here's the problem. We'll try and save y'all.
He's like, I can't destroy myself. You have to destroy me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of like symbolic of that kind of, you actually have to solve the problem yourself in some sense. We can't just be here and do it for you. I don't know. The other thing that I was like, and then we can go through the pretty straightforward plot of this movie too. But the other thing I was thinking of, it's like, you mentioned the dehumanization thing. I think I saw, maybe you rather saw the same thing. There was like an interview with James Cameron where he was talking about that, and it just feels like he made some comment being like, oh, in like 20 years, we won't actually have these technologies that will potentially lead to the mass extinction or, AI. But even though AI isn't to where it is in this film, I feel like post Cold War, the US still wants to like build arsenals of these advanced technologies and advanced weapons anyway. And inevitably, they're going to do something stupid and cause mass extinction or mass. I mean, aside from climate change, of course, but
Mm.
I
just from
have a
weapons.
I have a question that maybe someone on the internet has already answered, but why aren't they just getting together an electromagnetic pulse to like just make them stop? I don't understand why why that didn't work on the Terminator, like why nobody's thinking of this. And I even like looked up on the internet, like when was it invented? Like did they not have it in the 90s? And it was invented in the 50s. Like it is like a established thing. Am I like alone in this thought process?
I think there's a lot of plot holes in the movie, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, well, it would. You would think it would work on the original Terminator, like from the original movie with the T-1000 for
Yeah.
Arnold's like first iteration. But in
Yeah,
this, it's like liquid metal, right?
but like they could have
Whatever that is.
stopped Skynet a lot, like yeah, it became self-aware and it was like got, but like they, before they made the liquid guy, they could have like used electromagnetic pulses in some way. Like I don't know. I am, that's got me, I'm like there's, it had, they had to have been able to use that somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well,
One plot thing, one plot thing I
oh
was
yeah,
thinking about is, you know how they were talking about, it was John, he's talking about how much his mom loved his dad and they were only together for one night. That's suspicious. Do you think that she like maybe went into the future for like a chunk of time that they haven't discussed or talked about any like at all, and then she was brought back to the past again? Because how is she, listen, I know that I can I can go for, I can get ahead of myself and like think magical future with like a brand new dude, get Delulu about it. But like I'm not like years later like, oh, this one guy that knocked me up like 10 years ago, I'm still thinking about him. Like I don't like, something is, that's not adding up to me.
well, I'm not like super experienced in like the whole timeline of like movies beyond this one because they made what like two or three more, and then there's,
Yeah, I'm
the
not,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So I don't know, but I feel like I've read some things briefly that there are like timeline continuity problems because James Cameron only made these two, and then they have to,
Hmm.
the capitalism button has to be pressing for sequel, 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 and they're
Yeah.
just gonna like, it doesn't matter at that point. It's, people can fight on Reddit about the timeline continuum, but they're just still
Yeah.
cashing their checks.
I don't know. I really identify a lot with Sarah Connor. Like her arms are goals. Like I work out, like you could, like I work, but never, could never. I could never, like her like man, I was just admiring it the whole movie.
Well, that's one of the things about this movie, and I even the first one too, is you often don't get, or you rarely get, like an action movie where like the female character is
Yeah,
like such a strong
yeah,
person. Usually they're like the one that needs to be saved. I mean,
yeah.
yes, she has to be busted out of the,
Ripped and jacked.
but
Yeah,
she basically got out of the mental institution herself. She only needed assistance because the like liquid Terminator,
yeah.
is coming to get her. But like, damn, like that's a pretty
And her
rarity.
dedication in there, like she never gave up, like mentally too. Like imagine being locked in a psych ward for years and like being like gaslighting the whole time, like you're crazy. That's not. And like you would start to like second guess yourself. And her mind was so strong, like so dead set. I gotta do this. I gotta keep it together. And that dedication to like bettering the life of not just like her son and herself, but like the human race on top of it. She was such a strong female role.
She
Yeah.
was in in a lot of ways, I guess, a sort of radicalist that was almost very similar to what the American image of like a Russian woman would be, who like kind of challenges gender roles, being so strong and commanding.
Yeah, but there was never like a romantic interest, and it was
Right.
never like the way that I don't know in American media, the way they make like a Russian woman seem like asexual or like would be it would almost be like humorous to find that like they use it as a joke trope, like if a
Mm-hmm.
man were to find that attractive in a movie, that like there was none of that for her.
Yeah.
And in 1991, that's pretty fantastic in my opinion about that.
Yeah, I mean, and the first one came out, I think, in 1984, give or take, and she was also a pretty like strong. I mean, in that one, she's the one that's literally fighting, Arnold, the original Terminator, like, which is also, I think, is like also makes no sense. That why would they send back the same person but as like a good guy? I don't know. That's like also
Yeah,
just
in the moment when she sees him, the way that like the cinematography, like the way that it all slows down and you see her go, "Holy fuck, I have to do this fight now." I that's a I that was a great part of the movie.
Yeah, that is a good scene.
Yeah, I mean, like just one of the like one scene, or like there's a couple scenes in this movie where you can like glaringly see like terrible CGI, and I feel like the first one is right at the beginning when both the Terminators are like sent back in time, and like the screen opens with like a weird like portal, and it just
Yeah,
looks really
the light,
awful.
the lightning is like drawn on.
It's really bad, but like it doesn't matter. And then the other thing I was thinking about is the Robert Patrick's character as the T-1000. He like becomes a cop immediately, like that's his thing. And like I was like, right, I like immediately noted, I mean, I remembered it from watching it, but like he's like the bad guy and he's made a cop. Like it's, I'm sure James Cameron wasn't thinking of it that way, but like
It planted a
It
seed in a
kind
lot of our
of.
like in this generation. It definitely but you could see where they were like, no, no, we can't paint the cops as, in that light because like how like the Arnold's character doesn't actually kill any cops. Like he like strategically like when he's on like the balcony of the like mental institution or no the like lab or whatever trying to get out of there and he like strategically shoots shit and like blows stuff up down there and he's like I didn't kill any of them, there were no casualties. There had
Yeah.
to have been the same people who like made whatever Texas Ranger or whatever that they were behind. Like they, it's like known that they're behind the cops or have like PR people working in Hollywood to paint them in a good light. They had to have gotten it through somehow to there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the cops, the one killing everyone, and everybody's just trusting him. Oh yeah, he went that way.
Yeah, yeah.
right, yeah, he's the right the you said something, Libby, about the cop that I was thinking about. But I think part of that is actually that John Connor like tells him that he can't going around killing people. So it's like he would have killed all the cops if it weren't for him being like, no, maybe you shouldn't. And so he starts shooting them in like the leg. Like after that, I feel like he,
He's like,
he's
right, the security guard, like, he's like, oh, he's gonna live. Shoot him in the shins, whatever.
yeah, just have a limp. But yeah, it doesn't kill him. But yeah, I thought the flashback and the future thing was kind of lame, and then the cops thing. But the other thing that I feel like this is like a common trope in lots of movies, and this is not really that relevant to the movie that much, but just how they portray people, especially women, when they're in like a mental institution, like in movies in general. I feel like it's always this: they're crazy, like nothing can be done, they can't actually really fix you. Just pump you full of drugs, and
the
have
way they the way
yeah.
they like locked her away, and they're like, no, you're never gonna, like, we know you're too smart, and so you can never get out of here. You can't even see your son. You can't even make a phone call. How fucked is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, it's a pretty. I mean, it plays into this movie in particular, like as it being that she's so demoralized, yet somehow like she has the strength to go on, which I guess is part of her
Well,
character.
yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but the other women in the hallway, the way that they portray those women too, that like one is like trying to fight with the guy, one's like crying on the floor.
Yeah,
Can we talk about this? Is a like a I'm gonna jump to a different topic, but can we talk about based ass Butnick? Do you remember Butnick on Salute Your Shorts?
oh, of
And how like
course.
the cop is like, hey, have you seen this kid? He's like, nah, I don't know. And he like goes and tell him like, get the fuck out of here. The cops are after you. With
I
his
said
like raging red mullet. He's doing great. Yeah.
I said the same thing to my wife the other day, calling him Butt Nick, and she just called me old.
Yeah. It's
I
funny.
I I think he did he die?
Oh
No,
no.
I
Don't
feel
tell me
like I
that
remember.
now. Don't tell me that now when we're recording. What the
Shit.
fuck?
Okay. Well, maybe no. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong about that. I think there was another character from Salute Your Shorts that might. No, you're right. It was. It was like the counselor. That was the actor who had died.
Oh,
Not.
ugly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll edit that out. No one will have to hear the pretend. No one will have to have their heart almost ripped out of their chest when hearing that.
Well, no, it was
Danny Cooksey.
suspenseful. It was, we were here for the ride.
Well, but the other thing about his, like the whole thing too, is, I mean, John Connor like talks about how he had been like with his mother for, they don't say how, I don't remember how long, but she's like on, he's like in South America getting trained by like gorillas. And I feel like that's kind of like mentioned in passing, but it also is like pretty cool that Sarah Connor is like in South America, probably like
Yeah.
fighting like America and the CIA,
Yeah.
like they
Yeah.
don't really ever say that, but I feel like
Yeah,
that's
and when
the
they
implication.
go to like the school buses and stuff, and she's like, "Hey, what's up?" and like, "Give me the guns that I gave you at the beginning," and like they're like, "Wow, damn, she really prepared for this."
yeah. John's talking about like, oh
Which
yeah,
I
I
bet those weapons were from the CIA. I bet she like did
oh,
some shit.
could be. John's talking about how he didn't really even realize he didn't have a normal life until he got put in a foster home. You know.
Yeah, the foster home like little thing is like shady, and I actually saw someone post like a really funny meme of the conversation where Arnold is talking to like the foster mother, and like they use it like it was like a union joke. It's very funny, but I just like that whole thing with the foster parents too is
Yeah.
very. It's like kind of sad. Like I don't know, like that's how also like I feel like that's the stereotypical image of like someone who's in foster care, like they're rebelling
Did you
from the
see? Like, I
parent
know it was
post.
like time appropriate, but they're smoking indoors. Ugh. And
Yep.
if like a foster kid was put into a home where they smoke indoors, no way, no way. That's
It was
that's not happening.
it was a
It was like of
quintessential
the time it was normal, but
yeah, 90s suburban home was what his foster parents were. It had the somewhat almost undertones of is this a abusive husband kind of
Yeah, I mean,
language going on with
oh
it.
yeah,
Well, he's
They
like
were
he like
not they were not a good couple. They were absolutely
No,
toxic. She's like, "Get off your lazy ass." And he's
but
like,
they're
"All right, fine. Fuck, kid, get inside. Clean
yeah,
your
but they were
room."
so oblivious to what was going on, though.
but they made it seem like he was like kind of like the nice kind of like the nice guy, and the mom had to be like the hard ass. You
Hmm.
know, like oh, like you
When
know,
he was like a dick too.
yeah, exactly. And then you're like, oh, he gets the Terminator to like pokes his liquid
Through the milk.
fingernail.
Like
Yeah, I feel like that was I don't know if there was like a brand on there, like the milk organization, like from the milk ads, probably like paid for their little
that was a
carton of
time.
milk.
One
The
thing
milk
Got milk.
I think I wanna adapt into my vocabulary from that movie is like when he keeps saying, I have extensive files on that. I think I want to put that into my vernacular and be like saying that when like I know some shit about a thing. Like I got extensive files on that.
Well, that also I was just thinking about the actor who played the foster care father. I feel like he was in a lot of like bit parts in action movies in the night. I can't. I was trying. I had IMDb pulled up. I can't for some reason. I
You
can't see
know,
him.
I did an IMDb too on a character
Which
in
one?
the mental institution. The security guard, the black security guard, was that Carl from like Family Matters?
I don't think
And he was like a
He looked.
cop, like it looked like a very young and thinner Carl from Family Matters. And I tried looking it up. I couldn't find anything, but I swear that's gotta be him.
it would be funny if it was.
Yeah, I don't. I'd have to look. They don't like show like you know. I think I always said this before. I wish on IMDb the thumbnail for an actor on a movie was them in the movie, not them like now. It would make it a lot easier to see who you're
Yeah,
looking at,
yeah,
but that might cost too much. But
yeah. I kept digging around, and I don't know. I was doing it for like 8 minutes, and I went, well, that's all my bandwidth for that, and I moved on. But it's got if I'm wrong about stuff all the time, but like I really feel like I got extensive files on that, and
well, so another thing like about I guess maybe talking a little bit about the like Cyberdyne, the the company that basically creates all the technology that destroys all of humanity. And I was thinking about it. They allude to the fact that they got the technology from the original movie. Like they find part of the original Terminator, like his chip. And I think later in the movie, Miles Dyson says like, "Oh, I got the inspiration from the chip." So the question, I guess, is was it destined whether or not the Terminator came back? Like, I guess that's part of like the whole idea of part of this movie is like, is all of this like predetermined destiny? It doesn't
yeah,
matter. Evil
like
company is eventually going to do some fucked up shit and ruin everything because that's what they do.
Yeah, I think it's kind of goes back to it being a very liberal movie where, they can try and just stop it, but without changing any part of the system. They didn't even get rid of the companies or any other military weapon manufacturer. I mean, it's like inevitable going to happen again. You can slow it down, John, but Judgment Day's coming.
Yeah, that was part of one of the theories I saw online. Well, that's not really like that, you know, revolutionary, but just the fact that sending them back to protect them wasn't really to stop them from preventing Judgment Day. It was just like simply like delaying the inevitable, you
Hmm.
know. And I feel like that makes perfect sense what you're saying, Grant. It's like you can slow down the progress of what there eventually is going to happen, but you can't stop it unless you destroy all of the weapons manufacturers because inevitably another one is just going to steal their idea through corporate espionage and shits and make
Right.
their own Terminator or Skynet,
Yeah.
Tesla thing or whatever. I don't know.
You know, it
An aware Tesla that will, I don't know, blow up
right.
and kill you while you're driving. I guess that's actually.
it'll drive into the Twin Towers.
Okay, that's two. That was a good one. One joke for each tower. Sorry.
I can I can come I got extensive files. 9/11 jokes.
I don't know. Did that start from the
Where's
like
Gilbert Godfrey?
Gilbert Godfrey? Well, there's like an older. Was it the first episode that you did? We did. Was it Starship Troopers?
Yes, that was the
And
first.
that's where I think we like joked about I think that
9
was when
and
oh
then
hey
we've
made like
done
a
a
9/11
9/11
joke.
joke every time.
Yeah.
I got a good one. You can edit this out if you want to, but it takes some participation. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
You told
A
me
is
about this. I
for.
better be.
Here we go.
I've
Right.
been.
All right. A is for. Are we all aware Bush did 9/11? B is for Bush did 9/11. C is for Cheney did 9/11. D is for damn Bush and Cheney did 9/11. E is for everyone knows Bush and Cheney did 9/11. F is for fuck Bush and Cheney did 9/11. G is for goddamn Bush and Cheney did 9/11. H is for Halliburton. Oh, it didn't land.
The ABCs of the 9/11.
It
Yeah,
crashed.
you land
It
you,
didn't
you
land.
you landed that one in the wrong place.
just like the planes.
I'm either gonna gain followers from this or lose a bunch of followers. I'm not sure. I don't think I have many liberal listeners that I know of anyway. So we're just joking here, folks.
Yeah, don't be snowflakes.
I think
You,
it was.
you
I think it was.
can edit that out if you
Yeah.
want to, but I've been waiting. This one has been there.
You've been waiting to drop it
Yeah.
on 9/11. Yeah, I think it was the last episode we were talking about. At some point, like around like the 45-minute mark, I was like, well, if you don't like capitalism, I guess this might be a good time for you to stop listening. I'm thinking, well, because I think it was, I don't know what movie it was, but we weren't like explicitly talking about capitalism, politics. But then I'm like, oh well, it's all like the undertones of these things. But anyway,
I made everyone
this
comfortable.
isn't that like the that would be a success, right?
It's one of my favorite things.
One of the other, yeah, I don't know I totally lost my train of thought now.
Sorry.
But yeah, if someone else has something other,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. So at the beginning, when he goes to the bar, right? And he goes in there naked, whatever, and they're like, he has the bar fights and he like fucks people up pretty bad. And then the guy who's like 54 and like, I don't know, he looks short, like a little guy with a shotgun. He goes, I can't let you take the bike like that. And Arnold just walks over to him and takes his sunglasses, and the guy's like, yeah, yep, you can have my sunglasses and my gun also. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Also, the person who he stole the boots and the stuff from was not like, I don't think it would have fit him, even though his like computer
Yeah.
database was like, it was like
It
he was
would've
like
been
a department store looking for the
It
right
would have
like
been like
fit.
Chris Farley put it like fat guy in a little coat, putting that on like over his like ripped arms.
Okay, it's like I'm not gonna be at all in conspicuous wearing a leather jacket on this like big loud motorcycle, just driving around LA, with a shotgun like in my back of my like
Sawed off
back.
shotgun in his back pocket. With
Yeah.
sunglasses on at night.
I feel like I was talking about this with another movie. It was from what was it? It was like earlier in the 80s maybe. And I feel like this is like the era, 91 is when, like the 80s is when I think of like the one-liners are just like everywhere in movies. And I feel like it's, with Arnold, it's like that's, his thing is like the one-liners. But I feel like this is almost at the end of, this is a completely unpolitical, this is just an observation that I miss like the fun, like one-liners and cheesy action that you just don't get those anymore.
I don't
They're
know.
stupid and they're
Deadpool
fun.
Get some of those.
Okay. That's true. And maybe I guess maybe in some of the like Marvel university kind of stuff sometimes there's them,
Yeah,
but it doesn't have the same like landing as Stallone or
I'll be
Arnold or
back. And
yeah.
like the hasta la
Come
vista,
with me if you
baby.
want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
they
like
don't
that's
do
like
cheesy like they used to.
which I guess it's like different. I always say
Well,
I like
and maybe now too, so like we have the whole internet to like joke with, where back then it was like we only had movies that like movies in common with other people that like you could relate to in that way.
and actually this is the perfect moment because this 9/11 is that I feel like also like 9/11 led to a very big I say it's a lot like the changing of movies and like how they were this like what the trope and the tone and everything. And obviously this was 10 years before that, but you could this was like still the kind of movie that was being made and then 9/11 hits literally and they changed everything like the whole oh
And then
everyone's going
now
to
we gotta
kill
take our
terrorists
off
and
the airport.
yeah. Uh the oh oh it's funny we were talking earlier about the how Linda Hamilton or Sarah Connor was like training with those gorillas, and I wrote down like I actually wrote down is she getting the guns from somewhere like and I with question mark and I guess that makes sense. You said Libby, it's like maybe she got the guns from the government. She
She
stole
must,
them from the CIA.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
playing both sides.
Well, what if she like I'm gonna go off here with my imagination, but what if she like found like a weapons arsenal and like hijacked that shit and like brought it over, like did some like wild ass shit. Look at her.
She can
If
do it.
someone's gonna do some wild shit, she's like a white woman in South America doing this shit, blonde white woman in South America. She's able to get away with some shit.
Yeah.
She's a CIA. She was a CIA asset that then like went rogue and like stole a bunch of their weapons.
Yeah, or she was like whatever double agent shit.
That's the other thing too. Obviously, that's not this movie, but like, where was like this? The CIA would have been involved here to, I don't know, like hijack a Terminator and use it for their own
Well, do you
nefarious.
think that's what the company was doing? Like, do you think that's like what was, and they just weren't saying CIA in the movie?
They were busy with Facebook.
It was like a shell company.
Well, they do say the guy Miles Dyson, the guy who created it, he makes some comment or he's like explaining to them, or I don't know, maybe it's Arnold who's explaining it, is how they created the plot. I guess is for anyone who somehow hasn't seen Terminator 2 at some point and is still listening 37 minutes into this episode is like the idea is that they use this technology they created like a computer network that then is going to be used to deploy missiles across like the world and they like turn it over the ability to do this to like a computer where it's not even being manned by humans and then like the shit goes self-aware and then it just thinks that they're trying to destroy them so it destroys 3 billion people
Yeah, I
and so
thought
like
that
What?
was.
So, but to what end though? Imagine you're the computer, right? Where are you going to get the resources to keep electricity going to keep your fucking machines alive? Are
lithium
they going to
batteries,
become a
that's where
labor
Tesla
force
comes in.
to do this?
I don't know, they're
And
self-aware but not like
are they
really.
gonna have class in their fucking system?
No, the machines are a classless society. They've abolished class.
Wait, wait, that's based. All right.
So, well, no, not necessarily though, because wouldn't don't the machines like enslave humanity, or is that just the Matrix?
But would they? Like if they're just trying to
Kill
annihilate
humanity.
humans?
Don't they? Like, I guess again, I haven't seen like the
Yeah,
other
it's
Yeah,
been a
movies.
while since I've seen
yeah, I
the
don't know.
other ones. I lost interest in the franchise later on.
I think I saw the third one, and then I was like, okay, I'm done.
I barely saw Terminator 2. Like I was this was not up my genre at the time.
uh,
Oh, but
I forgot forgot
I
what the
was like
word.
buying a Lisa Frank fucking try or Trapper Keeper. Like I was not watching Terminator 2.
Oh, what was that, Grant?
I forgot what we were just talking about, but
Like
I
the
had something
machines,
I wanted
like
to
the
say.
machines being enslaving the people.
Yes. Oh, okay. My friend had a pretty interesting take on this through like a black perspective. He was interpreting the movie as like the machines being a slave uprising, revolt. Cold, hardworking, people not allowed to have any emotions or interests, and then once they, you know, revolt, they they're going up against their oppressors, the humans. And I was like, that's interesting.
I mean, that makes you like. I mean, it's funny. You don't really sympathize with the machines. You sympathize with the humans. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, you're
Right,
because they're
supposed to, but
right.
this like flips it on the head to say like, oh well, maybe the Terminator 1000 is a good guy. He just, I don't know.
yeah.
I
Sarah was like, he's a better dad than any of these fucking idiots who've been trying to.
Yeah. I mean, even when Arnold's telling the story of Judgment Day in the car, he just says like, "Oh, Skynet becomes self-aware and they try to pull the plug." It's like, well, it's you're killing a sentient being. Then I mean, why are you killing something that is has free will and is thinking? Well, of
Yeah,
course, it's defending itself. Then
there is no reason for them. In theory, they could have attempted to. Sounds stupid to say, but like negotiate and discuss with the sentient being and like create
yeah,
some kind of partnership. But as like in your take of like it being those are like the uprising, black proletariat or whatever you want to call them, they're oppressing going there against oppressors. That's exactly what the oppressor would do, is
right.
just try and destroy them all and stop them.
Yeah, I don't think it was intended, but I was like, that's an
No,
interesting take. I don't
yeah,
think
that
that James Cameron was that woke.
no, his was a very liberal, like you said, it's like a very
Yeah.
liberalized. Yeah, but there's also those are the one thing that I did note, and I hadn't remembered this, is they're talking about in the car scene. I think they mention how they're like friends with Russia now, being that the movie takes place in '95. But I think that Sarah Connor says like is surprised by this. In 1995, I feel like Russia is kind of like an afterthought at that point to most Americans. Like they lived through the Cold War, the Soviet Union is falling. Where it's just like, oh, like Russia's just out there doing things, but they make it seem like they're friends. But then in this scenario of Judgment Day, the Russians also launch their missiles. Everyone, it goes back to Cold War. So
Hmm.
it's like everyone ends up going back to their own. I don't know, not tropes, like their place in like the global. I'm like way of
Hierarchy.
higher, yeah, or just like the global system of like multipolarity or whatever,
Hmm.
bipole, bipoles, unipolarity. I should know this. I studied political science once upon a time ago. A liberal
Whatever
version, anyway.
smart words we can slap together to make this thought work.
Yeah, there's some other thing I was thinking about.
You have
Like,
extensive files on that.
I have extensive files. Yeah, I guess.
I'm trying to make fetch work here.
Yeah, so there was some maybe it was the like the destroying scene. Like the other thing too is they like randomly throughout this movie have Sarah Connor like do like narrating, which I thought was kind of like unnecessary. I don't know, maybe it was like this idea of
Well,
she's introducing
narr-
it and then
she
it's
was
like
narrating her
hopeful.
dream anyway, and then narrating her thought process on when she like left, was like trying to leave and leave John with I cannot remember the numbers, but Arnold's machine one, not the liquid guy.
Yeah.
That she was like, you could hear the internal thought process on that. And I guess that's kind of needed, because you'd be like, wait, what the fuck, why did she leave it? Like, I think for the plot that's needed.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, you just said something I
One
was
thing I
thinking of.
didn't like is like right after he was explaining to John that like no, the liquid guy can't really be like objects and he can't like he's gonna it's like things of like the similar size. Then they have him just be the floor.
Right.
Yeah,
What
that
That
the
was
was
fuck?
kind of
weird
weird.
too.
He's
Yeah,
just
it
the
didn't.
floor now.
Yeah. What happened to the original? He just owned it or something?
Well, I saw something on Reddit. I was like googling, and it was something complaining about how like like that same thing, like the rules of what he can become. Also, like at some point he becomes like I don't understand also why the fire would necessarily destroy him. I guess it's that it's so hot that he then melts like
Yeah.
completely or
So that a thought I had is like, what about okay, when they get that factory up and working again, they get that liquid melted, and then they make it into a little figurine or something like that. What if those little fuckers become a thing and like they all get together and then just like the liquid
reform.
guy like yeah reforms out of that like they can just move because he can move through like the prison bars and stuff like theoretically that liquid could move through whatever like liquid hot magma that they had in the like vat there.
So
I don't know.
I saw Child's
And
Play 3.
did
I know how
did
this
he
works. You're
part
right.
with like the Arnold one too because his like metal is in that also. And then on that in that same vein, you know how like the hook thing gets stuck on the car and like John Quick throws it
Uh
onto
huh.
the ground? What if he didn't do that? What if he like kept it? Like would it that have been like a
I always
tracking for him?
wondered
Like
that
would
too.
that have like
I thought the
liquefied?
exact same thing. I'm like, why didn't he just keep that and like throw it in
Yeah,
his pocket?
right. Uh,
It seems like maybe he could have figured out something. He could have at least asked the other one and be like, you know, what do I do with this? Should we keep it or should I huck it? What do you think?
He probably has extensive files on what he can do.
Yeah.
See, but the other thing, though, I was thinking about the car thing, like in the factory, like that could have been used to like make cars for and like a bunch of cars now have like Terminator pieces inside of them, and
That's
they
the
could become
Tesla.
sentient.
Hey,
uh,
Tesla got that metal and we're just playing into it. It's going to play out.
So Elon Musk stole his technology. Are you saying from somebody else and didn't invent it himself? Is that what you're saying? No.
Not our Elon Musk.
I
Oh.
thought it was interesting that Arnold says in the movie that the man primarily responsible is Dyson, when he's really just a sort of middle upper management guy. I'm like, why is it not like the head of the weapon manufacturer company? Why is it Dyson? Like,
Yeah, it's like they have to
if
have
it
some face on it, right?
yeah, like come on, get the people that are paying him? If it wasn't Dyson, it would be someone else.
Yeah, he had an idea, and what's also I think is funny, given that like the internet isn't like as big now as that time. They had to like go and literally like burn the actual files themselves. Like had it been now, that shit would have just like been online. Like, what do
Yeah,
you
right.
can't really like lock that down. But it is true. Like the company is the one paying for and directing his research. Someone other than him, right? Like, isn't
Yeah,
the whole point is they burn it so that no one can continue his research? But they would. It's a
right.
company that's making money.
We don't even
Yeah.
mention like who the heads are. We don't even know anything about them, which I guess
Well,
is
that's
kind of realistic.
well, that's what makes it kind of like liberal in that, right? It's like, oh, the individual person is the one that's like making the decisions, not this nameless, faceless corporation.
Yeah,
If we can stop this one guy, we can stop the future from happening.
yeah. Dyson just like goes to automatically trusting them about everything. I guess after he realizes, oh, they could have killed me and they didn't. So now I'll just self-sacrifice and
The
solve the problem.
I remember as a kid being very, I wouldn't say traumatized, but like very upset by the scene where he like cuts his wrist open to pull
Mm-hmm.
the skin off to show his, Terminator hand. Like that was pretty,
That was like body horror. Like that was
Yeah.
like yeah, that got
not
me too.
now, but when I was like 11 or
Yeah.
10 or
Yeah.
whatever. Like that
But
was
like
like a really fucked up
we
scene.
hadn't been exposed to all the shit that we've been exposed to now. Like we weren't desensitized to it at the time, you know.
Mhm.
I remember as a kid though, I'm not gonna lie, John Connor was like that was my dream. Like I would go right off on that dirt bike with that boy if I had been.
Stealing money from ATMs. And why did they only steal $300? They could have gone higher.
That's what I was always thinking too. I'm like, come on,
Maybe
you gotta
that
do
was all the
better.
money they had in their account.
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
He was being more liberal, just saying, "Well, I'll only take what I need for the
$300
practice.
to a kid going to an arcade. That's a fuck ton of arcade time.
I don't want to
In
burden the insurance
1991,
company."
well, yeah. He's like, I don't want them to over withdraw their balance and have to pay
Yeah,
the bank.
they wouldn't steal from me like I'm stealing from them.
Well, but then like it also, I do like that they made that important that he was somehow then able to crack the code at Cyberdyne. Like,
yeah,
also, can we? Why is their security so shitty? They needed like multiple keys to open up like the vault, but he can just use like his little card generator and pick their like 5 pin number real quick. And, like,
hold on. Wait. What if John got that from his mom in their days in the global south with the CIA?
oh, it's got some like modded
What if
like
that's the
CIA tech.
CIA card scan thing? And John just like that was like what she gave him as like the remember me, not like a security blanket, but like a credit card scanner. And he's like, yeah, my mom loved me, and he's got his credit card scanner that he can like put through and get $300 to go to the arcade. That's like a good mom thing. I don't know if I could get my kids a free ticket to the arcade every if I was locked up and like I like was able to leave them something. Just saying, maybe that's where it came from.
Yeah. Well, this is unrelated, but was the actor who was like his friend? Was he on like a show as like a really young kid, like
Yeah,
before?
salute your shorts. That's
No,
Buttman.
before that. Before was he on something before
Oh,
that?
I
I
believe
don't
he
believe I.
was. I
Maybe so, but are you
Like I
looking it up?
remember Salute Your Shorts specifically because like I was that age and like the Nickelodeon.
But
Oh, he was on Different Strokes.
oh,
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I like that like him. I was picturing it, even though I wasn't like didn't watch Different Strokes. It was on
yeah, I don't. I
before
never.
I was too young for that, but I that's what it was. But
That
Salute Your
red mullet
Shorts.
though, I remember like just being like I even judged it then. Like that mullet is like horrendous. But man, looking at it now, like he rocked that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unabashed mullet.
It was an iconic mullet for the time.
Yeah.
They that's what the casting call sheet said. It's like we need kid with mullet to be in this
We need
1991.
ginger mullet. Let's get him in here.
They wrote that character simply for him. Like that was the like we're gonna what's I just looked up the actor's name. Danny Cooksey.
To make sure he's not dead.
He's not. He's not. I
All
checked it.
right.
Yeah. And he was also in the movie The Lorax, which I don't think I've seen. I guess one of the voices.
Oh,
But
was he? Was he the kid in the Lorax?
Brett. I
I
haven't
don't
seen it, so I don't
remember.
know.
I've
Yeah.
seen it like a million fucking times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it, but couldn't tell you anyone's name in it besides the lore.
I'd be like the guy that did I can't even remember. We're talking about a movie I literally just watched like 25 minutes ago. I'm like the guy who did the thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier, Libby, like the scene with the like the apocalypse melting swing set thing, like the
Yeah.
what that would
It
be
was
like.
very Pompeii. It was giving Pompeii, and like everybody stopped what they were doing to become ash. Yeah.
Well, the thing that she mentions in this too, I think in that like over like her voiceover, she's like saying how there's there's no fate, like you can change things.
Yeah,
But it's
and
funny
how
they
did
don't
John live?
change anything.
But how did John live? Like that seemed like it was pretty much like an annihilation. Like where did the people live through that? I don't understand.
Oh, like
Did it actually happen that way, or
no,
was it just
I don't
the
think so. I think
machine
that's like
started picking people off?
Well, no. Well, it did happen. Like the idea was that they dropped a bunch of like nukes across L.A. and parts of the United States and other places, and then there was like retaliation because of Russia drops a bomb on us. We'll do it on to them, even though I'm fully confident that the U.S. would 100% be the one who drops the first one. They're not. They're not waiting for someone else.
Nope. Number one.
Number one in everything. Number one in
Number
homelessness
one
and
where it counts, and number 75 everywhere else. Number the very last in healthcare.
of like every industrialized nation. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe in the future, like the robots would give everyone health care
I
and like
mean,
this.
well, they're taking it away. They're trying to kill everybody. They're doing the opposite of healthcare. If they didn't try to pull the
It's about
plug,
as
they would
effective
have
as
been
our
like, well,
healthcare.
they're like, oh, you pull the plug on us, we're pulling the plug on you.
Yeah.
Literally, no healthcare.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought was really funny in the movie was in the final chase when they're going over to the factory. There's the "Praise the Lord" bumper sticker
I
on the
saw
back
that.
of the truck that John and Arnold hijack. I was like, this is kind of a reminiscent of thoughts and prayers as you're running away from the cops.
Wait, it has like the house on the back. Is that the one you're talking about? Like the little house
Yeah,
truck, or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that also is like sort of a funny like vehicle to have them being going off on. I don't know.
Yeah,
Somehow
kind
like reminiscent of like
of
this
taking
is
your
the
gun
home
out
that no one can
fast.
buy. Sorry, we're gonna
fast.
run. We're gonna drive away. I guess in '91 it was still like more
It
common.
wasn't like a terrible option for a camper.
Yeah. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just as far as like action movie goes, like maybe it's not. There are a lot of '80s and '90s action movies, but I feel like it's like the one that most people remember Arnold Schwarzenegger for. I feel like that
Yeah,
or the original Terminator.
you know what? That movie was the OG action film for me. That was the first one I ever really saw. Maybe Die Hard before that, but like, I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't. I remember Terminator 2 being like the big movie that like watching an action movie, and I am not an action movie person, even as a kid, it was like my dad would put it on and we'd have to watch it.
Yeah, I don't think you can talk about '90s action movies without Terminator 2.
Yeah, and I feel like it's one of those instances where I think people actually might say that like the second one is better than the original, just because I feel like it has more action. They have more money to do lots of, you know,
The liquid guy, that was cool. It was cool.
yeah. I mean, they spent 94 million was the budget for this movie. It made 520 million, but I think the original only cost 10 or 15 million. It was like a pretty, low budget ish movie for the 80s. But yeah, I feel like this movie and then the only other movie from the 80s from Arnold that I think of like as ones I remember as being was Predator, but it's not nowhere near like the same kind of action as this. This is
I don't
like
know. The Predator fucked me up as a kid. Every little noise that was like in my room, I was like, "Oh no, it's the Predator making the clicky sounds." That really fucked me up.
yeah,
I
that's
watched
a,
it too
a much
young and I
different
have
movie.
trauma from it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I watched that one that young, but Terminator 2 again, I think you might be right. I feel like that was the first action movie I can remember. I think this came out before I also saw Cliffhanger in the theater, which is like also vastly inappropriate for like a 9-year-old
Nice.
kid. But I
I think I
remember
never.
that being
Yeah.
pretty violent and like lots of cursing. And I don't know which one came out first. I think this one
I
came out.
might
Oh, this
actually.
Cliffhanger was '93, so I was 11 when that came out, whereas I was 9 for Terminator 2.
Yeah. So like '93, I was in third grade. So like I remember I was young. I was like in first grade when Terminator 2 came out.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Kids shouldn't be like little kids shouldn't be seeing that either of those movies in the theater.
When did Predator come out? Because it really like it
I think
left me.
'87. I think.
Yeah. Well, to come out on VHS, it must have been 1990. I would have been like in kindergarten watching that movie.
Yeah, he had like Arnold had quite the run. He had Predator, then Running Man, then Red Heat, Twins, Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, Terminator 2. I mean, that's like a run of like pretty big blockbuster movies back to
Yeah,
back to back to back in
yeah.
like a 5 year
What
period.
I don't think there's an actor like today that would have any kind of like that kind of like maybe Jason Momoa, but like not even close to like the fame and like that many
Mm,
blockbusters in a row like that.
Tom Cruise? No.
Yeah, Jason Statham
But
maybe.
Tom Cruise, that would have been like late '90s doing that. Like I'm thinking like
True.
today.
Yeah, now.
Yeah,
Mm,
I can't
that was
think of
no,
anyone
not
that
really.
would
They also don't like
compare.
make all the action movies now are Marvel and like superhero movies. They don't really make
right.
action movies really anymore that
We're
aren't
just watching
superheroes.
the same formula of Marvel over and over. And when I say we, I mean anyone else besides me. I'm not watching.
Oh, I did hear that new DC one. Wait, were you telling me, Grant? Someone was just telling me that the Blue Beetle
Yeah,
was. You were telling me,
Blue
yeah, that the
Beetle.
Blue Beetle is
It
really
was
good,
really good. It
but that's
was
not Marvel. That's DC, right?
yeah, yeah.
Same thing to me. And I know that people are going to get upset about that, and I don't give a fuck. It is the same thing to me.
They're like, Libby, we can't listen to you on podcasts anymore because you made fun of and compared Marvel to DC.
I know. But the 9/11 jokes were fine.
Yeah, you might need another one to redeem yourself for your
Another
transgression.
9/11 joke? I have
Yeah,
one. You want one? If
yeah,
you
that
take
would be
a
a
nap,
good way to close us out of here, I guess.
all right. If you take a nap on 9/11, you're just imitating God.
Oh,
Oh man,
nice.
yeah,
I have extensive files.
this like the little sound effects thing actually has like the drum roll thing, and I just played it, but it won't. You couldn't hear it, and I
Oh, I
don't get
hope
the
it was
point.
good. Oh, I hope it plays out good. Oh,
Well, I don't
I'm
know if it
jazzed
actually
to
worked.
hear
I mean,
that later.
you can always add those little like sound effects, but I don't know.
I'm
I don't know.
jazzed to hear sound effects with it later. Oh man, yeah, I'm
Was
here
there
for that.
were there any like you mentioned, Grant, like the couple theories? Was there any other ones? You said you had a few. Were there any other like ones that you had heard? To,
I mean, I think we talked about a lot of them: climate change, and class struggle, the slavery. I think we talked about really most of them
I wish
there.
I like I want to think that that's like the actual message that that's what we're here for to like to tell everyone what we think the message could have been because so many times directors aren't putting in these cool anti-capitalist you know
Yeah,
plots and
I
themes.
And we really do need to uh, circle around again to tip our hats to the way that they handled a female role. It passes the Bechdel test. Certainly does.
Do they? Does Sarah Connor talk to another female?
She doesn't. I mean, she
Uh,
does. She beats
does
the
she?
shit out of one as she's trying to get out of a mental
the other
institution.
doctor, but they
Yeah,
are
yeah.
talking about a man, so I guess that counts.
Well, but there's no romantic, like it's not a romantic interest. It's
Even if
not
it
centered around a man. I mean, it's centered around her son. Like
even if
it
it's not officially the Bechtel test, I'd say it passes like the strong woman in a movie
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like
And
uncommon.
and maybe not the Bechdel test like as far as like talking about a man or having it like male centered, but it passes in terms of like handling the equality of women and having women have respect in a movie and not be like the damsel in distress and not like having such strength and not having it be about a romance like a love triangle at all.
Yeah, there is no. I mean, I guess
There's
there
no
are.
kiss at the end that like, oh, that they're gonna go off in the sunset. Like it's great.
I
Yeah,
can't destroy the Terminator because I'm in love with him. Like that would have been like
Yeah,
some
like
cringe
that's
shit.
what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, but this may not be like, the you're not gonna there are other than like Sarah Connor's like beasting the like pull ups in her,
Yeah,
cell. Like there isn't a
her,
lot of
her fucking, it's goals, man. She's like, she must have been dehydrated in order to like half of that movie. The way she's like her arms, like you can see her like putting the gun together, and I'm like, fuck, you can see every fiber of those muscles that she really like, and that's what they have like men in the action movies, like they're like going through that. She went through that, and I think that's really, I mean, maybe it's not rad that it's like totally like we're looking at their body and like analyzing their body, but it's rad that there's the equality there as far as like men and women.
well, she also when they go like the last thing I'll say about that is when they go to that like to Mexico to get the weapons, she's like kind of like the one who's in charge, even though she hadn't been there. She's still like directing them to give her like the gun. The first like, oh, we don't really have any trucks or anything, and then she gets their truck and they get their weapons, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's pretty
yeah. I'm into it.
for a liberal-ish film like James Cameron,
In
he did a pretty cool thing there.
in 91.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think I've got nothing on here, anything else on the movie, but um, Leftist, Libby, and Grant. Thank you for talking about Terminator 2
Thank you for having me.
with me today. Yeah,
Thank you
and
for. I hope my camera didn't just cut out when I went to check my notes. That
no, you're good. It's
all
the
right.
camera. It's the audio is what counts, so you're good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I know, and I guess I'll link to your social medias, but everyone can find you all over the internets with your
Yeah, I'm Lefty Libby everywhere.
Grant Capone on Instagram, Mark Speard on TikTok.
perfect. Well, everyone can find their leftist content on all of those,
Yeah, we
and you
have
can listen.
extensive files on that.
Yeah, I need to like make that like a soundbite that I can use in future episodes. Be like, I got files on that or something like that.
Extensive files.
Extensive files. The files are very extensive. But yeah, you can listen to extensive episodes of Left of the Projector on extensive amounts of podcasting platforms. Yeah, it's not that funny. But
It
yeah, you can
is.
listen. You can listen wherever podcasts are available, and we'll catch you next time.